All right, so welcome to Popcorn with a Program. Our room today is program faculty and staff. We have that are presenting for right now for this session is Anthropology and Archaeology and Humanities. My name is Julia Mahalik and I am a student life coordinator based at the Northwest campus. I'll go ahead and let our presenters introduce themselves, and Jessica, you can go ahead and introduce yourself as well and maybe share what your intended major is and if there's any particular information you'd like to hear today. So that way we can make sure to get your questions answered. All right, go ahead and take it off, presenters.
Okay. I'm Helen O'Brien, and I work on the West Campus in the Archaeology Center and have had for, 37 years now. I've been an archaeologist longer than that, and I'm going to be talking about that today.
Hello, I'm Brooke Anderson. I am a Pima Online Department Head for Fine Arts, Humanities, and Honors, and I'm also faculty in humanities and in writing. And I've been with the college for about 17 years now.
My name is Becskehazy. I am an online student. I live in Chicago, so I only do online stuff, but I have a strong interest in anthropology. I'm an honor student, so I'm over here. I don't know, far away, so just kind of try to figure things out with the limitations like that I have right now. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jessica. Were you wanting to take a picture to enter the bowl contest at all?
Sure.
Okay, do you have a bowl that you want to do?
I do have a bowl.
Okay, let me go ahead and grab, get all set up really quick. I need to pull it up. Let's see. Okay. So let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. I have this. I can't even. There. I don't know. Why isn't it showing? Oh well.
Oh, I think it's your background.
Hold on. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. There. It's a hand woven bowl.
Oh, it's nice. Okay.
Beautiful.
All right. Do you want to be in the picture too, or you just want your bowl in the picture?
Just the bowl.
Okay.
Thing on camera. So.
All right, I got it. Okay.
Sorry.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and then our presenter that's going to get us started today is Helen. So I'm going to hand the reins over to Helen.
Oh, good morning. So now I'm going to share my screen. And hang on. Okay. So can you all see the closed captioning? Because I cannot.
It might take a second to.
Okay, so it's possible I just turned it off instead of on. I can never tell which way. Oh, this looks better.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay, there we are. Okay, so I'm going to talk this morning about the Anthropology Archaeology GIS department here at Pima Community College. Unfortunately, we don't offer too many online only classes, but certainly a few. So what is anthropology? What is archaeology? And finally, sort of toward the end, I'm going to get into what is GIS and how do they relate to each other. Anthropology, the word comes from two different Greek words, anthropos, which is human beings, and logi, which is the study of, making anthropology the study of humans or humankind. That is a pretty broad subject area. So to break it down a little bit, usually anthropology is broken down into 4 major subfields. There's biological anthropology, which studies humans as biological entities. So human evolution, human osteology, the relationship to other living primates, forensic anthropology. If you've seen, CSI on TV, you know that the forensic anthropologists run in there and figure out from human remains that are found, what kind of person was this? Was it male or female? What diseases might they have had? That kind of thing. So that's biological anthropology. Then there's cultural anthropology, which looks at modern living cultures, which includes both sort of non-industrial cultures, which we have a kind of a picture here, but also subgroups in modern industrialized cultures. So all of modern cultural groups, not just people that may live in small villages. Then there's a whole separate but related field of linguistic anthropology, which is all about human languages. How do we record human languages? How many human languages are there? How are they similar? How are they different? How do humans produce language physically with their mouths? And then, of course, they talk to the biological anthropologists, that kind of thing. And then finally, archaeology. So I'm going to jump ahead to the next slide. So archaeology, I'm going to talk a little bit about what archaeology isn't to start. In the popular culture, these slides aren't quite as new as they used to be, but archaeology has a lot to do with finding treasures, mostly golden treasures, but other kind of treasures too, usually under some sort of life-threatening circumstances involving boulders crashing down on you, possible alien threats, whips, foreign nationals, other exciting dramatic things. That is not really quite archaeology. There's some small grain of truth there, but not too much. Also, what archaeology is not is dinosaurs. In popular culture, you can find a lot of images of archaeologists and dinosaurs. They're dramatic and exciting, but archaeologists don't study dinosaurs. Paleontologists study dinosaurs. Archaeologists worry a lot about time. Dinosaurs died out 66 million years ago, in possibly as short as 24 hours. Even if they live very, very far away from where the giant meteor hit and boiled up the ocean, immediately raising global temperatures so that things on the surface just couldn't live. But humans, the earliest humans our human forms were around maybe 5 million years ago. So 66 million years to 5 million years, just too much time difference. So humans, archaeologists do not study dinosaurs, although we think they're super cool. What archaeologists do is study humans and what they were doing and how they were doing it by looking at the material remains that they left behind. We study humans not through written records, although that is also extremely important, but we study human remains or human past through the material, the stuff humans left behind. So the pictures here include a beautiful little bowl from here in the Tucson Basin. What you usually find, which are little broken pieces of pottery. Archaeologists study pottery because it lasts for a very long time in the ground. Humans in the past had lots of other stuff, but mostly it's rotted away. We also study stone tools because those last pretty much forever. And so we have them. We also study, and that's what this picture on the lower right is, the remains of things that people built. Some things that are very old, the Egyptian pyramids are still standing, but other things that people lived in the past are to just leave traces in the dirt. What this is in the picture there is the foundation of a house that was built in the greater Tucson area about 1,000 years ago. And so the house is not there anymore and might have looked a little bit like the one in the upper right, but what we have left is the outline of where it was dug into the earth a little bit, the place where the posts were that supported the house, the fire pit where somebody burned a small fire to keep the house warm, that kind of thing. So what can you do with a degree in anthropology or archaeology? With the anthropology concentration in the Association of Arts, and I should say that the whole concentration business at Pima College is about to change. It's about to change the way they set it up, but you can take the first 2 years of courses for transfer to certainly the major universities in Arizona, but really almost any four-year university. You can complete the first 2 years of required courses at Pima College. You can do that, or you could even say, and simultaneously pursue a field certificate in archaeology, which will focus on archaeology field skills for employment purposes here at Pima. Or with a 2-year degree in anthropology, with a focus in anthropology, you can go on to almost anything. It's good for business, it's good for healthcare, it's good for any field where you're going to be sort of dealing with humans in their broad global cultural relationship, right? Having understood how cultures are similar and different in anthropology, you can use that knowledge and understanding to do almost anything. Okay, so especially for you, Jessica, I'm not going to read to you all of the courses that are involved in the archaeology fieldwork certificate. I'm perfectly happy to share this with you, what the courses are and that kind of thing. But Pima College does offer an archaeological fieldwork certificate with 3 different focus areas. We have done for a very long time. We've been teaching field archaeology for 40 years, over 40 years here at Pima College. So why does archaeology specifically matter as opposed to, say, cultural anthropology? Like it's easy to understand why understanding modern human cultures is important to live in the modern human world. But why does archaeology matter? If you believe that history has any importance, which I believe it does, then archaeology matters a lot because there are huge parts of the human past that can only be learned about by doing archaeology, right? There was no writing anywhere in the world until about 5,000 years ago. There were some kinds of records, but no like written narrative until 5,000 years ago. Well, if humans, fully modern humans, have been around for 200,000 years, that's less than 1%. Well, no, it's less than 2%. It's more than 1%, right? So that's a huge span of human time that we can only know about through archaeology. And if we push human forms back, human ancestors to say 5 million years ago, then 5,000 is a very, 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 very small portion of 5 million. Okay, there are huge spatial gaps in history, right? In some parts of the world, there were, until quite recently, no written records at all. For example, in North America, north of Mexico, there were no written records from the indigenous peoples who lived here. So if we want to know about the indigenous inhabitants of what is now the United States and Canada, we have two avenues only. One is the oral traditions of those people, which are certainly important, but the other one is the archaeological record. And the further back we're looking in time, the more important the archaeological record becomes. And then there's what I like to call the privilege gap, right? Writing and written records tends to be recorded by politically powerful and privileged groups. And those politically powerful and privileged groups didn't write down a lot about what other people were doing who were not members of those groups. And so you can find out things about groups who may not have had specific things written down about them that much by looking at the archaeological record. Certainly in historical times in the United States, African Americans and indigenous peoples, but not only there, right? If you go back to the Egyptian Empire, there are a lot of written records. They didn't write down an awful lot about what people in small villages were doing. But that's where most of the people lived. Most of the people did not live in giant palaces. So if we want to know about those people, we can only find out from the archaeological record. Are there jobs in archaeology? Yes. And again, this is sort of focused in Tucson, Pima County, but Pima County is a hotspot for archaeology and archaeology jobs. And our students are employed at companies all over Tucson. Where do you have to go to work to do archaeology? Well, outside. So if you are not only outside, but if you are tired of sitting at your computer and doing Zoom meetings, archaeology is a nice contrast to that, a nice antidote. Even during the pandemic, we've been able to take our field classes out in the field and work safely together with a little spacing, masks, but outside with lots of fresh air. And so that's encouraging. What kinds of things do you learn in the certificate program? And that is, we have lecture classes, and those are going to be the same. Principles of archaeology is much the same anywhere you take it, but we teach a lot of hands-on skills. How to use a level, how to dig a square hole with a shovel, how to use a compass to walk straight across the desert, how to use a GPS to know where you are, how to draw a map of an archaeological feature. So all of those field skills that you are going to need to have if you wish to get a job. And finally, we have a good archaeology club. It's been a little quiet the last couple of years, but the archaeology club goes on field trips. They have various activities where they learn how to do flint knapping. They learn how to write up their resumes. They have hats and t-shirts, and just it gives a good camaraderie and a group of people that work together and know each other through all the classes. Finally, I promised that I would talk about GIS. GIS, which is Geographic Information System, stands for Geographic Informations, is a tool or set of tools that are used in many professions and subject areas that allow for the spatial display and analysis of data. Pima College has been teaching basic field skills for a long time, but also advanced mapping and spatial techniques for 35, 40 years. At Pima College, interestingly, the GIS courses started out in archaeology because we knew that our students needed those GIS skills. And geography at that time, which is where you might think it would start up, didn't really pick up with the GIS, and so we put the classes in. So if you want GIS classes, the archaeology or the Anthropology, Archaeology, GIS department is the place to look for them. The CAD department also offers one GIS class. And so I think that's all I've got. Yes, so I'm going to stop sharing here. And
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and have Brooke go ahead and share their screen so she can give her presentation. We're a little bit about 5 minutes over time right now, but we'll still have some time to have your question answered, Jessica, at the end. So it's okay too, because then we will have we can go over the time a little bit. So we'll have some time for Q&A at the end.
Hello, my name is Brooke Anderson, and I am the department head for Pima Online Humanities, Fine Arts, and Honors courses. And I'm going to talk today about the Humanities department at the college. So I have here just some information about the who's who. The dean of our department is Michael Parker, and I've got some contact information here for you. Jennifer Wiley is our department head for in-person and virtual classes. I am the department head for the online courses, and Maureen Salzer is our discipline coordinator. So she's the one that is involved in the curriculum design and support for our department. So a little bit about why you should study the humanities. And what are the humanities? So the humanities are about what it is to be human. And when you study the humanities, you are doing things like understanding others in the world through their languages, histories, and cultures. The humanities foster social justice and equality, what it means to be a free, liberated human in society today. And it reveals how people have tried to make moral, spiritual, and intellectual sense of the world. And it is definitely a discipline that focuses on teaching empathy and building your empathy skills. The humanities teach us to deal critically and logically with subjective, complex, imperfect information that us humans create. You know, we are all subjects. We are not objects. We are fallible. We are not perfect. We are imperfect, and celebrating the things that we create and what they reflect about us is a critical part of the humanities. They teach us to weigh evidence skeptically and consider more than one side of every question. They build writing and critical thinking skills, and really applicably help you in any profession that you might go into in your professional life, as well as help you relate with people, be a leader. Any sort of field really benefits from people who study the humanities and build those skills that apply across all disciplines and all professions, and even into our personal and political lives. They're really studying the humanities as a way to enrich your life and your experience in the world. And so in the humanities, when you take courses, you really are building your capacity to tell your story by studying the ways in which humans make meaning through their different art forms. So when you study the humanities, you really are studying what humans create. Art, literature, culture, are all areas that the humanities focus on. And so these are the core courses that we offer here at Pima Community College, and I've indicated which ones you can take online, in person and virtual. Some of our offerings are only in person, but you can see we've got about a 50-50 split of the offerings available to students. And these are really courses that you wouldn't say concentrate in for a degree, but they really are wonderful fillers to your overall education that will help you in any disciplinary area or any certificate area to just think more critically and reflect and make more meaning out of your experience in whichever way you are going in your path in life. And so we offer a class in mythology. We offer an independent study class. If you get into it and you want to work one-on-one with a faculty member, you have that option. We offer 3 different levels of Western humanities courses, which I'll go over in a little bit more detail. And then our most popular class is actually the intercultural perspectives class, and that's the class that I teach. So a little bit more about what you would learn if you took our Humanities 131 class, which is the mythology class. And this is one that is offered online, in person, and virtually. And there's no prerequisite for this one. So if you're interested, you can take this your very first semester at the college at any point in your academic career, jump right into mythology. And what you study in this class is really the Greek and Roman sacred narratives, oral traditions, cultural events, and the content will cover things like myths, legends, folk tales of the Greeks and the Romans, major Greek divinities and their Roman counterparts, the effects of ancient myths on Western literary movements, and similarities and differences between major mythic systems and anthropological, psychological approaches to mythic systems. Our most popular course, Intercultural Perspectives, is also online, in person, and virtual. And this really is an introduction to Native, Asian, Black, and Hispanic Americans and their contributions to American civilization. And so in this class, you study all of the aspects of these groups in terms of history in the United States, their literature, their art, their music, and we also look at race and gender issues that these different groups face in the United States. And we also look at their position today in society. This class is an AJAC class that does fulfill the I and the C. And so there is the prerequisite of Writing 101. It is a writing intensive class, but it is really interesting, and students really enjoy this class, and I really love teaching this class. Then we have Humanities 251, which is our first Western humanities class. And in this class, you're studying, it's an introduction to major cultures from rise of city-states through the early Roman Christian era. And the content of this class is general history of ideas, art, architecture, religion, philosophy, drama, music, and literature from ancient Near Eastern civilizations in Greek, Roman, and early Roman Christian civilizations. You read a lot of texts in these classes, classical readings, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh. We study Homer, Sophocles, Aristophanes, Plato, Aristotle, Virgil, Aeneid, Hebrew and Christian scriptures, and St. Augustine. And this one is also an intensive I class, and it meets the global requirements as well for the AJAC, and is also a course that requires you to take your Writing 101 course, or 101 HC, or 101 S, or 101 SE before you take this class. And then we have a second class in the Western Humanities. This one introduces you to major Western cultures from early medieval through the 16th century. And so the content of this class is again, general history, art, architecture, religion of the medieval period, including a Renaissance, Reformation, and Counter-Reformation. And again, with the humanities, you do a lot of reading and writing. And so in this class, you're reading things like heroic and religious works of the Middle Ages, people like Dante, Chaucer, Machiavelli, Shakespeare, Cervantes. And this also is a course where you want to take your first writing course first, your Writing 101 or the other equivalent courses. And then it also meets several AJAC requirements, the I and the G, for your transfer, if you want to transfer to a university for a bachelor's degree. And finally, let's see, we have, oh, come on, click. All right. Nope, maybe this one, maybe this one's a typo. No, I'm sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulty with
Put your
changing slides.
maybe try putting your cursor on the bottom left and see if then you can switch the screen that way. There you go. Push the forward button. It looks like that might be the
Weird.
last one.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I'm
Yep.
sorry. Well, we have one more humanities class. I don't know why it's not showing up here. I'll have to troubleshoot a little bit. But yes, that's my presentation for you today.
All right.